Well, welcome back to Public Affairs on Peach. I'm Ben Swan. We are digging into those recent terror attacks with CBS 46 public safety consultant Mike Brooks. Mike, good to have you here.
Good to be here.
You know, we've been talking about for the last few weeks through the news, the United Kingdom and attacks there, the London Bridge attack that took place. You had a knife-wielding assailant. We had attacks in Nice, France, a truck attack. These attacks are very different than what I think the average person has kind of been, for lack of a better term, trained to perceive terror attacks as. These are small-scale attacks, and yet they have kind of a big reverberating effect. What say you?
Absolutely, and because of the, I guess some people are going to go back, you know, the gun laws in Europe, that kind of thing. Right. But we look at law enforcement that were not able to defend themselves in the UK, where they all don't carry guns, like here in the United States. But we have also seen messages put out from different terrorist groups encouraging some of their followers to go ahead and use other unconventional methods such as trucks, cars, knives, these kind of things, not the traditional tools of terror that we see here in the United States mainly and around the world of guns and bombs.
We did have the bomb attack outside that Ariana Grande concert
Correct.
in Manchester, so that was a little bit different than some of these others. ISIS claims responsibility for all of these attacks, but ISIS seems to claim responsibility for everything they can possibly find under the sun that they could claim responsibility for. Are these actually being promoted by, encouraged by ISIS, or is that part of the propaganda strategy that ISIS uses?
Well, that's part of the investigation. When they find out who was involved in these different terrorist acts, they'll go and they'll take a look. Was this person in touch? Had this person traveled overseas? Had they met with anyone who may have been inspired by ISIS? Had they had any connection whatsoever with any terrorist groups? I mean, we look at the London attack, and you had one of the terrorists who actually had been in a jihadi video that they'd shown on television in London. You had one who had been on the radar of the Italian law enforcement agencies, and one who had an ID from Ireland and had apparently been traveling back and forth. So, you know, some people were asking me, why wasn't this picked up by the Brits? You know, did MI5, did the Metropolitan Police Department, did they drop the ball? We haven't heard the results of their full investigation yet, but there's a good possibility that may have happened.
So you've got the truck attacks, which it seems difficult to fight against. You have the bomb outside the Ariana Grande concert, and in that case, it wasn't outside the concert. It wasn't inside the venue. So you can set up all the checkpoints you want to inside the venue and say, well, we're keeping it safe. But when these young people walked out and were headed to the subways and the bus stations, that's where the attack happened. How can you reasonably protect against that?
That's a great question. Right after this happened, Brittany Miller and I were talking about this, and we were down in the area of Phillips Arena and the Georgia Dome and the Georgia World Congress Center and CNN Center. And what else do you have right there? You have a MARTA station. And this was right between a transit station and the large arena there in Manchester, which is basically a soft target, if you will. Mm-hmm. And that person didn't even go inside. That person set that bomb off right between the transit station and that arena where the Ariana Grande concert was going on. So again, it comes back to situational awareness and be aware of your surroundings. And I'm hearing from my sources in the UK that even as people were going into that concert, their packages, their backpacks, they weren't being inspected at all. They were just looking at water bottles. So again, everybody who is putting on these kind of special events, they also have to be aware of what's going on around the world and take the proper precautions.
So much has happened in France and the UK. We've mentioned those. What other countries do you think are vulnerable right now around the world, especially in Europe?
I'd say anywhere you go. Rome, France, Belgium. You know, we've seen terrorist attacks there in the past. But anywhere at all you go, you have to just be aware of your surroundings. If you're going overseas, take a look at the State Department warnings. If you're traveling, I tell people, hey, they say, hey, I'm going on my vacation. I'm going here. Don't wear your Atlanta Braves hat. Don't wear your Falcons hat, your Washington Nationals, your New York Yankees hat. You know, anything at all, just kind of blend into the crowd and don't stand out that, yes, I'm an American citizen. Even though you're proud to be an American citizen, just use a little bit of common sense when you are overseas.
Certainly so. We have one more segment with Mike. We're going to talk about what you can do to protect yourself when Public Affairs on Peach returns.